Hello everyone. So today I've taken a very simple use case and I'm going to show you how to start thinking about writing a business process. So the requirement over here is that you have to move messages from a mailbox to a WebSphere message queue, right? That's the requirement. Now, how do you write the business process? Is basically the business process, you can write it through the graphical process modeler where you can drag and drop the services and adapters, the code gets created automatically at the back end. Those are for folks who are just getting started on creating or developing business processes. But as you slowly start writing more and more business processes, getting comfortable, you start writing directly the business process using a text file, because typically the business process modeling language is an XML structure that, as you can see over here. So the senior developers, they get more comfortable rather than using the graphical process modeler, which is a Eclipse-based tool that you can download from the Sterling Integrator dashboard homepage. And as long as you have the right Java version installed on your laptop, you should be able to open that by double clicking on the jar file once you have downloaded, right? But then I wanted to show you the code, right, rather than the modeler itself, and how to think about writing a business process. So in a business process, typically the first tag is process. Okay, it starts with a process and then it ends with a uh, closing process, right? And then within the process, you have like rules, which are like an if-else statements that you are using, and then there are sequence. That's kind of the typical structure of a business process. And within the sequence, you have multiple operations, right? Like you are actually like you're actually executing multiple tasks, multiple services, multiple adapters, right? So that goes inside a sequence, right? Now, within that sequence, now you have like, if for example in this case you're using some assign statements that are needed for the business processes. So I've used an assign statements where you're uh, writing the mailbox path, the total, the max message count that you want to process at one go is 250. So I'm using the assign statement in the sequence, and then I'm using lock service. The lock service, what it is doing is basically locking the mailbox for the time being. Okay, the messages are being processed because you don't want the files to get processed at the same time by multiple processes, right? So I'm doing a lock service, and then you're using mailbox query right after that. What it is doing is that it is actually identifying the mailbox message which has a message extractable flag set to yes. That means they have not been processed. And then you're also collecting the message IDs of all those mailbox messages, putting all those information into the process data, the count of the message and the message IDs. Typically, the way you uh, like that, the way you should see this is the output message is basically the input that you're giving to the business process to do its task, the parameters that you want to pass to the business process, and the input message is after the the particular step has been executed, whatever is the output of that, you want to store it in the process data or you want to use it on runtime. So those are actually through this input message, right? So that's how you should read this business process or the BPML file, right? And then in this scenario, okay, as I mentioned, I'm going to push those files one after another to a WebSphere message queue. I need to know the WebSphere message queue's host name, the port, the channel, queue manager, queue name, and all those things or the configurations are stored within a code list. Now, code list is something which is a name value pair. So you basically use a name as a parameter, and you do a JDBC adapter query, and then it's basically going to retrieve the values. So the code lists are stored as tables, right, um, uh, within the database, right? Code list crossref item, that's the table name, right, which is there within the Sterling Integrator database. So here what I'm doing is I'm actually doing a select query using a lightweight JDBC adapter, and then I'm passing all those information, right? Like for example, if you see over here, the DB trans pool, I'm going to actually retrieve the pool information. The query type is select, and then I'm going to pass that. Like if you see, the code list name is GSI MQ, the list name, which is the name as I mentioned, right? Okay, and then the version of it, which is the default version, right? So you can have multiple versions of the code list, but I'm actually doing a lookup on the latest version. And then I'm going to pass the MQ name, right, as the parameter, right? And then I'm going to retrieve all the details of those that MQ, right, using this JDBC adapter query. I'm going to process all the output and then put it into the process data using the input message. If you see it goes, the entire output goes as a document into the process data as a document link. But then what I need to do is I need to actually retrieve certain information from the document, which is the output of the JDBC adapter, and then I need to maybe pick up some particular information from the document. So I'm using an XML encoder service, which actually does is like it takes that document, right, which is the output of the JDBC adapter query, and then specific information, for example, the host name, the port number, the channel, queue manager, queue name. Okay, I'm going to actually store them into the process data under this tag like JDBC slash row slash host name, all that, right? So that's how I'm actually like, instead I could have done like doc to DOM function as well, right, instead of XML encoder. So that is for that reason. And then once I have all the information to start a queue connection, I'm going to use the WebSphere message queue open session, which opens a session with the corresponding queue, and then I'm going to open a particular queue within that WebSphere queue server, right? I'm using the open queue adapter, right? And then what I'm going to do is like, what I'm doing is actually I'm doing a put function, right? I'm going to push the files, right? And then once one file is pushed, okay, I'm going to now iterate over it, and I'm going to take the next message, right, that has been collected, and then I'm going to increment the message ID, and then I'm going to do the extraction from the mailbox messages. I'm going to put it in the primary document, and then I'm going to do a put message over here, right? And then once I have put the message in the web message, I'm going to do a commit, right? So that and then once the commit is completed, I'm going to delete the message using mailbox delete from the same mailbox, so that I'm not processing the same file again and again, right? And then I'm releasing the message IDs and the primary document, that means the document itself, right, for the next message to be picked up, right? So then I'm going to do a like a increment the counter, and then I'm going to pick up the next message, right? So that way I'm going to iterate through, like, let's say there are 100 messages, I'm going to iterate for all the 100 messages. And then once all the messages have been picked up, I'm going to close the queue using close queue, and then close session, and then I'm going to release the lock service. Yep. And then if you see, if what basically, so this is, and then I'm going to release, like using the release service, I'm going to release like most of the information that are not no longer needed in the process data, right, using the release service, right? So that's kind of and then like I have also like some failure scenario like on fault. If you see, this is the error handling section, where if any, for any reason, right, there is any error, okay, what needs to be done, like, okay, let's abort the mailbox message extraction, and then let's keep the flag as is, right, and all that. So there is an error handling also in the on fault section. So that's kind of an overview of how a business process should be written, right, on a very high level. I hope this was useful to all of you, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Thank you.